welcome to Cheap Joe's Art Stuff. My name is Julie, and today we have something very, very special for you. Today we're going to be talking with Cheap Joe himself, and we're going to be touching on a little bit about changing direction, both stylistically and also like being unafraid of using new material. And this guy has it all in terms of a framework of like trying new things and not being afraid. So we're going to talk to Joe a little bit today about all of those things, top to bottom, and show you some of his work and how much he has diverged along the way. So welcome,
Good.
Joe.
Thank you, Julie. So glad to be here.
Yeah, so glad to have you here.
If you mind if I take my cap off?
No, not at all.
I'll do it because it kind of itches sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I imagine it's warm.
Well, I just had it done yesterday.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I want to keep it that way. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I can say for sure that like you are somebody who just seems completely unafraid to try new things. I mean, I know traditionally or initially, you were very much in the watercolor realm and more representational than not, you know, more traditional subjects and stuff like that. But that has kind of not been the focus here lately, and you're going in a whole different direction than you used to, both with material and subject matter and execution and everything.
Well, you're exactly right, and I think the big thing is exactly what you said, is that I've had the opportunity to have all these products and try them, because for one thing, the people who are trying to sell the product to us want you to try it.
Right.
So I have an advantage. It's a huge advantage, and I know that. But I've really not, maybe that's one of the reasons I'm not afraid to fail.
Right.
And I really am not. I'll try anything. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, then I've not been out very much. I've heard teachers say, you know, it's just a sheet of paper. Well, it is just a sheet of paper, but it isn't a sheet of paper because it's an expensive sheet of paper. When you buy the 300-pound Kilimanjaro paper, full sheets, you're looking at $10, $12 a sheet.
Right.
Let's do 10 of those a week. We're looking at real money.
Yeah.
So it's been easy for me, material-wise, Julie, to make these changes, to experiment, to play, and I take great pleasure in that.
Yeah, and I know that that's one of the things that has changed the way that I work is because of exposure here, and I understand that not everybody has that opportunity like, you know, you and I do, but you know, I also want customers to feel as and understand that that's part of the premise of Cheap Joe's, is that we are trying to be a conduit for artists by keeping prices low so that it doesn't feel like financial jeopardy every time you step up to the plate. You know, that you've removed that fear factor from it and are allowed to kind of create and be free and not sweating bullets over that sheet of paper all the time, you know, because it's real money.
We try to make that easy for the artists too, because we have a 365-day guarantee. Right. And it doesn't say it must be broken, whatever. If you don't like it, it didn't work for you, you return it, and we're going to take care of either refund your money or replace the paper. So that makes it a little easier for artists to say, well, I'll try this on this $12 sheet of paper.
Yeah, and if this brush doesn't work for me, I know that this will probably work better. I can trade it in, and I can go back to something that's a little bit more familiar and not have to worry.
That's right.
Right. Well, that's a huge advantage that I think
it is.
You know,
no question about it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So let's back up and punt a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about. So as a lot of people know, you started in watercolor. That's where you got your start. And even now you talk about, like, even with all of the dabbling in other areas, that when you need to come back to center, watercolor's where it's at.
Yes. You know, we all get in a slump, I think, from time to time. And those, if I can adjust and say it's okay to have a slump. But I always think about what I think I know and I can do without failure.
Right.
And it kind of gets me started, and then once I get started, I can
Exactly.
change, move, go on.
Well, yeah, everybody
know.
needs a pump in the ego
That's
a little
right.
bit
Yeah.
here and there. But even now, I mean, I've noticed that the watercolor is not executed in necessarily a traditional manner.
Right.
So, like, even some of the recent pieces, we were talking a little bit about, you know, that these are more traditional in terms of the execution, but even the materials that you're using, like palette knives with Velcro on them and,
This one
and
has
stuff
some
like that.
some painting knife work done in it.
Yeah, but basically these are simple palette knives that you've glued Velcro to.
That's
and
right.
You're using it not only for scraping and pushing paint, but kind of like a paintbrush would be.
Oh, exactly. I love them. It's a new idea, I think, and it was sent to me by a Sister Marie, a nun
Really?
that paints and is an artist, a wonderful painter and artist, and she gave me permission to use it or even manufacture it, I guess you'd say.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's so much fun. In fact, I'm going to do a short segment just on the painting knife and watercolor.
Nice.
Because you think of a painting knife and oil or acrylic, that medium, rather than watercolor, and it works beautifully in watercolor.
Wow, that's cool. But let's talk about some other things. Even your watercolor on more traditional, less traditional surfaces like this one. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this is watercolor on a panel, wooden panel. In fact, I've written on the back, original watercolor on gessoed wooden panel. And that's the secret, is the gesso. It must be your watercolor gesso. With ours, it's the red label. And so I give it 2 or 3, 4 coats of gesso all the way around the edges and everywhere. And then when that's completely dry, it doesn't take any time for it to dry, I just use watercolor to do the painting with. And if it has a place where I can use the painting knife, and there's none in here, I do. But it's a little unusual to see an artist working on a wooden panel.
Right.
So this is really a fun way to work.
And you don't have to be afraid at all. These are not anemic looking on that gessoed surface at all.
No.
They're very, very strong. So, yeah.
And they're fun. They're small. They make great gifts. But they're fun to do. They don't take much time at all.
Yeah. And panels are great because there's no framing.
That's right.
And then
right.
this is even a departure here. This is masa on masonite that
right.
you've mounted on there. And is this traditional watercolor or is this acrylic? And
This is all watercolor.
okay.
And as you can see, some of it's almost pure watercolor with no water added.
Yeah.
But it behaves a little differently than traditional watercolor paper. I really enjoy it. You can see I've taped off the edge here. And so I paint right over the tape, and then once it's finished and dried, take the tape off, and you've got a nice mat around it without the expense of a mat. But I actually lived in this little cabin for about a year. I call it my Thoreau experience. And it was a great time, really. I kept a diary, and I painted every day, and I look back on it very fondly. But
That's cool.
it's traditional watercolor.
Yeah,
No.
it doesn't have the look of that in places at all. It looks a lot like acrylic, or
Exactly.
some part looks like gouache or something, but it's not.
It does. No, it's just watercolor. And of course, gouache is just watercolor too.
Right.
You know.
It's just the pigments are different.
It's opaque.
It
Has
is opaque.
Titanium white in it.
Gouache is the red-haired stepchild of media. It
Oh,
doesn't
how about
get enough
that?
attention
Yeah.
at all. Yeah, I love gouache.
Uh-huh.
All right, and then this one is on Metz Terraskin.
Yes,
so this is
Terraskin.
very, very different. You can show that. So again, is this one watercolor as well?
This is watercolor with some of the colored inks. So this is burnt sienna with a black ink to get that rich brown color in there. And you know, trees really aren't dark brown generally unless it's a pine tree in the rain. Then it will look solid black like our aprons. Otherwise they're gray. But this has a lot of painting knife in it used different than the Velcro. These little bitty lines, if you'll take a painting knife and take a little bit of steel wool and take the, whatever it's called, temper, off of the blade of the painting knife, a sharp blade, sharp at the point, put it in color, and then just drag it, you get these wonderful little loose limbs and things for a landscape.
Yeah, they're almost calligraphic.
And the Terraskin, you can go back almost to pure white. Not quite, but it lifts very easily. It's a really fun paper to work on, and it's very inexpensive.
Yeah, because of that, you know, calcium carbonate surface. It's soft and it's receptive and a little bit more forgiving than most.
Exactly. So that's the tree painting, we'll call it.
Awesome. So then we got another departure, another left-hand turn here.
Yeah, this is a fun painting.
It sure is. It's beautiful.
You can tell that I had fun playing with this. This is watercolor on, I think it's crescent board.
Okay, the watercolor crescent board.
I think it's watercolor crescent board, and I like it a lot. But this is ink. This is the watercolor ink, and it's a lot of people like the watercolor ink to do the abstract things on either UPO, mostly UPO, or on Terraskin. I like it to use it on watercolor paper, which this is a watercolor board is watercolor paper, and it doesn't lift. Once you get it on there and it dries, it's pretty much there.
It's a done deal.
So that's different than watercolor, but the ink, this kind of watercolor ink is accepted into watercolor shows. So American Watercolor Society does allow a water-based paint such as acrylic, watercolor, gouache, or ink, watercolor ink, in their show.
And so then there's just black ink over the top of that?
Yeah, just like watercolor, you'd work from the lightest areas to the darkest area. And that's generally the way I think. I don't always think right, but that's the way I do.
Okay. So then we're looking at more watercolor stuff, but then we talked a little bit about some of your workshop experience here at Cheap Joe's, when we have a whole library of artists that come through every season that are teaching here at Cheap Joe's, anywhere from 2 to 3 days to a week-long workshop, depending. And so tell me about some of these. These are very, very different.
These are so much fun. Let's see if we have them. No, I have that one the wrong. These go like this. It's going to be a diptych. And I did these, and I'm still working with this sort of thing, thinking in terms of a children's book that one of my friends reads to his grandparents. He writes these wonderful children's books, but he's never done anything with them, and he's never illustrated some. I'm illustrating them.
Awesome.
And these are acrylic skins. And an acrylic skin is, when I paint with acrylic, I put a piece of thin plastic, like you would buy at a lumber supply. Okay. Just 5 mil or 10 mil, whatever. I tape that to my table where I'm painting. And then I'm painting, and once I'm through with acrylic, and once I'm through painting with acrylic, I let it dry. I don't mess with that. Then it will peel right off. Just, you have a whole sheet of acrylic. And then I cut it up into different little shapes and glue it on a board. This is really, it's not much board. It's a 300-pound Kilimanjaro paper. But then you can take your brush and add different things. Like this gold is done with a little gold acrylic. And they're just fun. Bob Burridge showed me this process, and I've had so much fun with it, Bob. Thank you. And just, it's fun to do.
Bob is a freedom maker.
He really is a freedom maker.
Yep. Yeah. He is the man who lives unafraid, that's for sure.
That's right. I have learned a lot from Bob, and it's all fun.
Yeah, I bought my mom a Burridge workshop for her birthday one year because my mom is very, very tight and regimented, and that fixed that.
Right. Yeah.
Done.
Right.
Yeah. So then I think we got some more kind of experimental stuff.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah, skins, acrylic skins on masa. I believe it's masa on masonite.
This is masa. No, This is not, Julie.
Is it not?
No, can you see the little...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what this paper is
Gesso?
called. It's an oriental paper that has little flecks of things in it. And I should get the name of it, but I think it's the only one with these tiny specks in it. And then this is a rainbow trout that I caught. And I know you'll think I'm kidding, but I am kidding. But it's a painting of a fish, and I really, again, it's skins.
Mm-hmm.
And I had really fun to do it because the background's already made with that paper.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the Aquaboard
Okay.
from Ampersand.
All right.
And that's the way I did the trout, just fun.
Nice.
When I get through with the children's book, we'll have to have a signing.
Yeah.
Have Sam will sign that, and I will. And again, this is acrylic skin on a piece of heavy watercolor board. I haven't named it. I don't know what it's going to be, but I think it's a really brave little dog down there.
He is so sweet.
Yes, he is. And this monster, I don't know. I didn't like talking to him. It's so scary.
But so these are all part of that kind of children's book illustration line that you're on right now. Okay. And then I wanted to talk about even going even more non-representational. We have some watercolor that are
on 300-pound paper.
Mm-hmm.
And they're again a very freeing thing to do, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
I start off with a pen,
mm-hmm.
and I'll draw some shapes. And then I'll let it dry, and I'll wet it and come back in with color. And so I get a lot of soft edges, like through here.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of hard edges. And then the only thing I'll do now is I'll really add some more dark in here to make it pop.
Mm-hmm.
But that's so easy and simple.
Yeah, and I see some, like maybe some gel pen on top.
This is that little white pen.
Mm-hmm.
Sanford makes
Mm-hmm.
it. I love it.
The jelly roll?
It's hard to find a fine white pen. And we have them. It's inexpensive as can be.
Mm-hmm. And then we've also got some Molotow paint pens that we just picked up too that function in that way. Complete control, great coverage, opaque, and
mm-hmm.
a really nice library of colors
mm-hmm.
too. So
I've played with them.
Yeah.
And I have at least a couple of these that I used those pens only in. I don't know if we brought them or not.
Well,
but anyhow.
I got those.
Mm-hmm.
And then tell me a little bit about these. These are a totally different direction too.
Well, they are and they aren't. These have no thought beforehand going into them.
Right.
I mean, they're just scribbles, and anybody can scribble. So with a pen again. Oh, this is on gessoed board, a gessoed panel, and I'm not sure. Yeah, it's going to go that way. It's going to hang that way, and it has no particular meaning. It has a lot of meaning because during the period of time that I'm doing this, I'm just free.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that I was worrying about before I started, when I finished this, I think, what was it I was worried about? I should have written it down because I've already forgotten. So it's kind of a mood elevator.
Right. Mm-hmm.
A painting elevator.
Mm-hmm.
A painting in an elevator. Anyhow, and this one, well, it's a similar thing. Mm-hmm. Here I have a little bit of meaningful things: a fish, a bird, my pharmacy career, trees, waffles, paint, an eye on a stove.
And that's is this a little bit of resin?
It is resin. Mm-hmm. It is.
A little bit of resin on there
mm-hmm.
for some
I could repeat
texture.
that resin, maybe.
Yeah, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, resin's a new area that you've been playing around with too.
Yeah.
Huh? Me too.
We'll have to do a program on that, Julie.
We are. We're going to have Jess come in and talk to us,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to do another video with her.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about this. This is like what would seem another departure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think this should be in the Louvre or the Metropolitan. I think any of them should be there. Anyhow, this is acrylic on board. And as I recall, it started out as a watercolor.
Okay.
I didn't care for it after I got into it. Kind of halfway into it, you shouldn't quit. You should go all the way.
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like every painting has a lesson in it for you, and you don't learn the lessons unless you go all the way.
Right.
So this being said, when I had the unsuccessful watercolor, I simply came in with acrylic and used acrylic and the little painting knives and everything. Just a fun little painting.
Yeah.
Would anybody else like it but me? I don't know, but I like it. And that's probably the most important thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
This has been fun.
It sure has.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some people.
We'll do it again.
Yeah. And we'll maybe demo some stuff.
Yes.
Do
We will
some
talk
fun playing?
to them here at Cheap Joe's Art Stuff and see if they won't make us the official commentators.
Really?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
I'm
good
afraid
fun,
you're gonna
Julie.
have to be the color guy.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we hope that you enjoy.
Yes.